Hi, everybody. I'm back. This is Mindy Stern from Women Leading into the Future. And today I want to talk more about this whole concept of reinventing yourself when you're in emergency. Remember, we won yesterday. We talked about the model of from invisible to having influence, invisible to power. So I want to go into it more on the theme of reinventing yourself, because now we're in a new situation, a new world, a new life, a new way of doing things, a new way of working, a new way of being with our family. We are totally a new place. So if you were feeling that it's kind of like reinventing yourself, yeah, it is kind of like reinventing yourself. So today I want to go further with that, how we are going to get out of emergency right now, how we're going to get out of emergency by reinventing ourselves. So give me a second here. When we talk about reinventing yourself, I looked it up in the dictionary, and to reinvent is actually to change something so that it seems different and new. Okay, so it seems different and new. That's like, there's pictures that I have in my mind of how you reinvent yourself. It's basically doing the same thing, having the same kind of functionality, but in a different way. For example, I learn yoga. I go to yoga lessons 3 times a week. It's part of who I am, what I'm doing. Part of my miracle morning is yoga. So I have been going to a studio for yoga. And my teacher, all she knows is to teach yoga in her studio. She has small groups. It's a couple of minutes from my home. And all of a sudden we have social distancing, and we have lockdown, and we have social isolation. You can't go out anymore. So what does a yoga teacher do? When she's teaching yoga, what does she do in order to, continue her business even during a time of emergency, a time of crisis, a time of change like we're going through now? So she actually did not know. And what I helped her to do is figure out how she can be in touch with her clients and continue to teach yoga, to reinvent herself as a yoga teacher. She, of course, went online, like all the rest of the world is going online now. So she had no idea what Zoom was. She didn't even have a computer that was able to support going online. So really fast, when we started down with social distancing and lockdown, we couldn't have groups anymore, with a little bit of help of me, because I work online, all my life is online. So I helped her use Zoom, how to use Zoom, got the computer, get a microphone, set it up in the studio. I went and coached her, and she actually reinvented herself as a yoga teacher. And a matter of fact, today, she has more clients in her virtual yoga classes than she actually had come into her studio. So we figured out a package, a pricing plan, how people go online, who's invited, what's invited, the terms. So it's easy to manage it from the back end also. But she has actually reinvented herself as a yoga teacher. So seems like it's new, but it's actually, she's still a yoga teacher. I can give you another example on a global scale. Think about Apple, and the iPhone, all the technology, iPads, iPods, iPhone. What it is, it's basically a reinvention of the computer. It's still finding data, collecting data, manipulating and using data. That's what a computer does. It's just they reinvented how you get to this information, how you do it. So it's still the same concept, but in a kind of different package. Reinvented how you do it. So it seems new, but it's basically the same. So when I think about this reinvention part, think about if you have a skill, a talent that you're doing in your job. Another example I was just thinking about now is a hairdresser. Think about my hairdresser. One of the people on my team in BSTA is also a hairdresser in Australia. What could a hairdresser do? How can he reinvent himself? A hairdresser. But, I hear my mom lives with us, and I hear my mom saying over the past 3-4 days, her hair is getting a little bit longer, her color is changing a little bit, and she's thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I can't go to the hairdresser, so what do I do? So isn't it a great opportunity for a hairdresser, if that's the craft that they want to continue to look, to teach people how to care for their hair while they're at home without going to the hairdresser. So you might think it's counterintuitive, maybe after the crisis they won't come back, but that's not true. If you help them now solve their problems, at least in a basic maintenance way, you're actually reinventing yourself, but you're supporting your clientele that you have right now. You know, low-hanging fruit, the people that you know. Teach them how to color their hair with store-bought products. What are the tips and tricks that can make it better? If they need to have a trim, if they need to trim their children's hair. I'm not talking about styling, just maintenance. Go online and start teaching people how to maintain their hair, or maybe even styling in a not cutting way, how to fix your hair, how to French braid your hair. What can you do with your hair while you are actually in lockdown? That's another form of reinventing. The whole process of reinventing, it's a mental exercise. Let's do this. Okay, we talk about who I am, what I'm thinking. When I reinvent myself, it's a mental exercise. I'm becoming creative on how I can continue to do the same thing, but make it seem new, in a new environment with new skills, new techniques, which is really good. So if you have a skill, you know, you're maybe a lawyer, and okay, you can't go to the office and you can't help your clients from your office, but what can you do? Okay, to reinvent yourself. And now is a really perfect opportunity because, you know, mix it up a little bit. We all go into our jobs and we continue to do that, and at some point it becomes maybe even boring, maybe even routine. Maybe we've stopped growing in the place that we've been for a long time. So now is really a perfect opportunity to re-explore how you do what you do, to reinvent yourself in that regard. Okay, so try to be creative. Think about what you're doing, what's the service you're giving, and think of different ways that you can give it, or different aspects of it that you can continue to give to your community. Okay, and then of course we want to continue to earn a living, to make money, and that's the whole idea. We're in lockdown, we can't earn money the way we were earning money before. What do we do now in an entrepreneur mind? You know, entrepreneur mind is a creative mind, saying what we can do to actually give service, contribute, and then get back money. And I'll talk about that kind of value transaction, value exchange, in the video that I'm going to do tomorrow or the next day. But right now, I want you to think of how do you today in this circumstance reinvent yourself, meaning do pretty much the same thing, but in a totally different way. But I want to talk to you, next step is, now is really a perfect opportunity to go a step further than that. Not necessarily reinventing, not continuing to do the same thing, have the same functionality as you've had up to now, but you actually have an opportunity now because we are in lockdown, because it is a new world, because you maybe are not sure how you are going to earn a living or continue to earn a living, or maybe you want to protect yourself from this ever happening again, where you're dependent on an employer, where you're dependent on some kind of salary. Okay, so now you want to use this time to think, and I would call this now, instead of just reinventing yourself, you can actually go through a process of rebirth. Okay, become a new you. How many of you have ever said before, I hate my job, or I'm bored with my job, or I wish I didn't have to go to work, or I hate what I do, or I'm frustrated with what I do, okay, or I'd rather do something else, or I don't feel fulfilled, or I don't feel satisfied with what I do. These are things I hear all the time from my clients. It's just this disconnect. There's a doing and a being. There's a disconnect from the doing, from a real heart level, from your heart. Okay, when you create yourself anew, you have a total opportunity right now, because we are in a total new era. We don't know, nobody knows how to work, how to be with our families, how to live, how to earn a living, how to be right now. So you have a perfect opportunity, present from the universe to reevaluate. Okay, when you see an opportunity to be the new you, to do what it is that you love, to do what it is that you love. This comes not for, if this reinventing yourself comes from it's a mental activity. Becoming reborn, going through a process of rebirth comes from your heart. It comes from a place of total connection with who you are, what is important to you, what your values are. You want to do something totally in line with your beingness, your internal beingness. Your internal beingness. You have a golden opportunity to actually, from today on, become the person that you so badly want to be. Okay, so you have an alignment, no longer a disconnect between being and doing, but actually you put an alignment between being and doing. First, who you want to be, and then you do the things that person who you want to be does. Bring yourself into total alignment, and if you actually do those things, then you will have exactly what you want to have without any effort. It goes like this. I'm not going to go into this model so much, but just to write it on the side a little bit, I'm going to do it with a different color. Okay, you want those things to be in alignment. So first, it starts off with your being. Become the person that you want to be. Then you will do the things that person does, and therefore you will have those things that you desire. Okay, but to do this, to get into a place where you can rebirth and be reborn, go through that process, one of the things you might have to do is to neutralize all the preconditioning that you've had, all the schooling that you've had, all the things that people told you or you thought because of society, because of conditioning, the things that you should be doing. Very dangerous word, that word should. You shouldn't do anything. You should do what you want to do. From here, do what you want to do. You should not have to do anything. And a lot of people, when they go into creating what their adult life is going to be as their children or they're starting out in life, what comes up for them most is, what should I be doing? And even if people, and I work with people who are doing a career change, especially I work with coaches a lot of time, how they start to coach people. And usually it's a later in lifetime process. They've already had a career and now they want to rebirth themselves, or maybe reinvent themselves and then rebirth themselves, be reborn. So they start coaching, but they say, what should I do? What are the opportunities out there that I should take advantage of? But I'm saying, no, what do you want to do? And when you get to that place of being, living what you want, then actually become much more attractive, when you're in alignment with your being. So in order to get there, you're going to have to really shut off the little voices in your head, that precondition that we have of the things that you should be doing, what society thinks is responsible. Because a lot of times that's what's holding you back from being you, because you should be doing that. It's irresponsible to do this, which is not the case. So you neutralize, and there's a process to it. You can neutralize your preconditioning, neutralize and start all over with a clean slate, no preconceptions. That's why it's called rebirth instead of reinvent. Reinvent is a mental exercise of seeming to be new, where when you have rebirth, you actually are new. You still have the same DNA, the same blood, the same heart pumping, okay? But you are emptying out your head of all that preconditioning of what you should be doing, what the world should look like, and coming from a place of connection, of what is true to your being, to your you-ness. And that's actually the basis of really true leadership as well. There are some leaders who come from the reinvent, from the mental spectrum, and they can be really good leaders. But when you want to be a real inspirational leader, you come from a place of heart, of connection. of being true to your values and who you are and to your mission. So I'm going to give you now a list of questions you can ask yourself in order to explore the innerness of you. What internalness in you, what beingness in you do you want to bring out now? How are you going to be reborn and use this great opportunity to be reborn in this new era that we're all living in? So I'm going to give you a list of questions that you can ask yourself to go through a process. This is something I do a lot of times with new coaches that I work with. Okay, first question, okay? What did you always dream about doing all of your life, even when you were small? You know, before you had, you know, your education and before you had your marriage and your house and your children and your debt and, you know, your financial situation, you know, what did you always dream about doing? And maybe when you're sleeping at night, you dream about it still. A lot of times what happens is conditioning kind of like suppresses our real and true dreams because of this concept of what we should be doing. So what did you always dream about doing? The next thing you can ask yourself is, what things do you do that time seems to fly by? And you start doing them already, then check, 6 hours later. You know, what things do you do that just you get so absorbed in them that you are told you can disconnect to any kind of outside reality? Another thing you can ask yourself is, what things did you learn or hobbies that you have that you're so passionate about? You know, I was talking to my mother earlier today. I was telling her about this video that I was going to do, you know, this presentation I was going to do and the concept of it. And she says to me, well, what if, you know, you're talking to someone who's like a construction worker. Right now they're in social isolation. They can't go out and do construction. Problem. How are they going to make a living? So if they can't do construction. So I said to her, well, what about the same construction worker that when he's not working and he's home on the weekends, you know, is doing gardening? Loves gardening. Or maybe he spends time in nature and does photography. And he loves and he's passionate about photography. So he's doing construction because that's what he should be doing to earn a living. That's the responsible thing. But really his heart and soul are in gardening or in photography or something else. I was talking about another client who loves to sew. Now is your opportunity to use those things, those hobbies, those things that you're passionate about, those skills that you learn that you love, that you weren't really using them because you had a job. Now is the time to explore. So what things have I learned or hobbies that I do have that I am passionate about? And then the fourth thing you can do is just write down your story. You know, people connect to people. And you have gone through a lot of things in your life, overcome obstacles, made transformations that have affected you so much and brought you to the place that you are today. There are other people who are in those same places that might be having a hard time, that can't get by those obstacles. And you already have the knowledge of how to do that because you've gone through it. So write about it also. Write down your story. What challenges did you overcome in your life? What major transformations have you made that made you who you are today? If you're satisfied from who you are today, that you've overcome something, that you've done something to bring you to a better, higher energy being than you were then when you were having struggles. So when you do those, ask yourself those questions. Use this time that we're now in isolation. Use this time to do a self-exploration of yourself. Ask yourself truly. Write down the answers. Write them down. Just don't think about them. Write them down. Bring them out of yourself. Put them on a piece of paper. Write a lot. It's very intuitively. It's very therapeutic as well, and you get intuitive ideas. You get real instinct coming out on a piece of paper that you can get a good reflection of who you are. So you can come from a point of less of the mental exploration for reinventing, but actually from a heartfelt beingness, intuitive reflection, connection to see how you can actually be reborn. Today, I think, and this is me, this is who? Yes, me. I think today is a perfect opportunity to start to do what you love to do and be the person that you really, really inside want to be. And it could be both of them. But do the self-exploration to see that your total connection, so you actually will be who you want to be. You will do the things that give you the most satisfaction, and therefore you will have at the end of the day everything that it is that you want to have. You will be living the dream. So I hope this helped you for today. We talked about reinventing and being reborn, rebirth. So I'd love to hear your ideas about it, what you think about the concept, how you are going to reinvent yourself, or how you are going to be reborn. Put it down here in the comments. I love you all. Stay healthy. Bye.